implement our attack, which is one of the things that I guess a lot of people are pretty interested to see, right? So we have our attack animation here, but we haven't hooked it up to anything right now. So we are gonna go and create a new trigger called attack, right? And we are going to hook it up basically from wherever state we have, right, to attack, and whenever we hit our attack. There you go. Cool. Okay, so we wanna just make sure that we have here no transition whatsoever, right? And I believe I messed that also here. In our jump, we don't want to have any transitions. And that will do. The attack basically is whenever we hit our attack, it will go to the attack. And we want also to not be able to do this whenever we are not in the ground. So our attack is not an air attack. So we want to say that whenever grounded is true. Okay. And when we finish that, then we can say that it goes here. And basically we wanted to just finish whenever the attack animation is done, it will go back to idle and it will back to here or to whatever it needs to go. Okay. So let's go ahead and add our attack. So for our attack, what we want to do is we can probably also use one of our nice axes. So if we go here, input axis, we have these three nice input that exist. So this is fire one, called fire one. It's the left control or the mouse, basically. So we can use that guy in our code. And if you guess where this should go, you got it right. It has to be here. So we're gonna say if input dot get axis, and we will say fire one is greater than 0, right? We are going to just call a function that is called attack. It's asking us like, you don't have that function, do you want me to create it? I'm gonna say yes, go ahead, create it. Just want to keep it like this and erase this. Okay, we have our attack. Our attack basically right now what it's doing is just saying anim dot set trigger attack, right? And with just that we will be able to attack. We're gonna have a little glitch there similar to the jump most likely, and it's that we can spam the click and the attack will never go, right? But if we are doing it correctly, it will just go once. There you go. Pretty cool. Okay, so our attack is good, but our attack right now doesn't have any meaning, right? And that doesn't really matter right now too much because our player is not like there's nothing to attack. I'm just hooking up the animations, and that's something we want to keep in mind. Okay, so now let's just quickly add that into our repo. Let's go ahead and add these two. Add attack animation on mouse click. And just that I see this again, the materials, that's something that I want to show you guys. I was not able to show it until this point, or well, a little bit before. Oops. Okay, that's another thing that I wanted to show. So this is happening because our player and it was perfectly timing. Like this just happened because our player has a friction, and like our player is having some friction with our with the ground, and the player rotated itself because it got stuck basically. So let me see if I'm able to reproduce that. It's not gonna be that easy because it doesn't always happen. Let me see if it gets stuck somewhere. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so one quick way to fix that, well, there's some things that we need to do. The first one is in our rigid body. There's also a very nice um, variable that we can use, and is we can freeze our rotation. We don't really want our player rotating in that axis. We just want him to move and jump, but not really rotate. Like it looks weird if a player, like a 2D character, rotates that way. So now, as you can see, it doesn't matter how much I move, I'm not gonna be able. And now I'm showing you the next bug that it's also related to what just happened a little bit, like to the friction thing. So if you see here, if I keep pressing the left, my player is basically uh, is doing like a Spider-Man effect, and that's gonna happen as well on these corners or every time that you jump. Uh, so if I jump and I try to attach myself there, well, that's gonna be hard because that edge is too small. But I can do it on this wall. So you already there you go. As long as I keep pressing left, my character is basically like attached to the wall and is kind of like doing a climbing. You can leave it there if you like it. Like that's actually something pretty cool. It's like a wall climbing kind of thing, but it's not intended to happen, right? So a way to fix it is we're gonna use finally our materials, and we're gonna use a material that is a physics material. So we go here, physics material 2D, and we're gonna say player material. And we wanna set our friction to 0 here. And then we will go to our player, and we are gonna go into our rigid body and apply that. Let me see if it was there. There you go. You see now that our player doesn't have any friction with the other surfaces, even though if I still like move to the left my arrow, or like moving, like walking to the left, it's not gonna get stuck there because there's no friction basically, and it's just falling. Okay, so that was a quick fix, and we finally use our materials folder. It's just something to take into account. It's pretty cool to have. Okay, we're gonna add this, and this. Add player physics material with friction 0. Okay, we can push that. And now that we have that, there's something that is gonna be pretty annoying when you are playing, and it's like, what happened if our player falls, right? Our player is just falling and it's gone. So what we wanna do right now is implement basically our checkpoints. So we wanna have some checkpoints as well as some dead zone areas. So whenever our player falls, it's gonna respawn into our checkpoint, right? So I'm gonna create here a new object, and it's gonna be called checkpoint. And let's put it somewhere around here. And just so we have some sort of indication, we can go into our environments, objects, and we can use this tombstone because it's pretty cool, right? Sorry, that was not the way. So sprite renderer, sprite renderer, and we're gonna use our sprite. Remember our sorting layers. So we want to have it. It's not gonna be actually like, so here's another layer that we're gonna add. It's not in the background. It's not actually a tile, right? And it's not in the player sorting layer. So we want to add another one that is going to be called back. We're going to put it before the player, and we're going to call another that is going to be called front. And our checkpoint will go in the back. Cool. So let's move that here. There you go. Okay. Okay. So let's see if that looks that way in our nice game, just so we keep it consistent. Let's let it like run there. Okay, yeah, it's around that position, right? It looks like it's over there. That's good. Perfect. Okay, so now that we have that guy over there, let me just adjust. Let's go back here. Okay, so we have our renderer there. It's on our back. Whenever we put it, it's fine, back. And actually, let me put it inside of an object so we can have different type of like checkpoints. It's gonna be nicer. So I'm gonna just quickly remove it, create an object here, put it over here, right? And it's gonna be called checkpoint, and we can throw this in here. And our sorting layer is gonna be back, and this is gonna be 0 0. There you go, and put it up here. All right, so now we have a parent. It's easier to just then swap our like object. If we then want to use this one as a like a different type of checkpoint, it will be easier. So we have our checkpoint there. Cool. And I'm gonna go ahead and create our next script, and it's gonna be called checkpoint. We are gonna attach that guy in, you can put it here. Okay, we also need a box collider, but this one is gonna be a little bit interesting. So this box collider, it's going to be trigger. I think we already covered that a little bit. That means that the collider basically doesn't directly collide with other objects. Like other objects will go through with, like another collider will go through it. It will be able to go inside of that collider. So that's what it means that it's trigger. Okay, we have that guy there. Let's go on open this. And what we want to do, we can just remove all of this. And we are going to use a function called on trigger enter 2D. So remember we were saying this is trigger. So basically on trigger enter 2D, we are gonna grab the collider that just entered. What we are gonna do with that trigger is we are gonna say we're gonna compare, like we want to know, we want to know if that collider is the player collider or who did just enter our thing. So we are gonna add in, there's two ways actually to do it. One way is making our player in a layer called player, and making our checkpoint just in a checkpoint layer that only interacts with the player layer. So whenever something entered there, we know is the player. But it's too broad. Like we will start going with like things that we don't want to use right now. So another way is our nice tags. So tags are just a way to tag something without making it into a layer. So we already have some predefined ones, and one is the player tag, right? We're gonna assign our player tag there, and we are going to go into our script here, and we will say if the collision compare tag its player, so basically whatever it enters was a player, here assign the checkpoint. So here we will assign our checkpoint. Now, in order to be able to keep track of our checkpoints, basically, we need something else, like something similar to a game manager or like a level controller, right? So if we don't have that, then it's gonna be a little bit harder. So I'm gonna go ahead and create something that I really like and I use on almost all my projects, and it's called game manager. And it also Unity changes to this nice gear. Our game manager is gonna be in a empty object called game manager. We're just gonna put it here in the top because it's pretty important. We don't really need it to be in a different place, and we're gonna assign our game manager. Let's go and open that just so we can see how we are gonna create this. So I'm gonna give you here, guys, a very nice way. Like, this game manager is gonna be responsible for like having everything that controls our game. So one of the important things right here, and that's why we're creating it right now, is to know which is our checkpoint. So now we're going to use a public variable because this one will be accessed by different scripts. So we need it to be public. So checkpoint, and it's going to be called current checkpoint. Well, actually, I lied a little bit. Like, there, we can have it public or we could have it private, depending on how we implement things. But in this case, I'm not gonna go ahead and create like a full function to assign the current checkpoint, because at this state we only need to assign it directly. So whenever this goes in here, we are gonna do something here, and it's called game manager, and we can for now just assign it manually, game manager, and we're here, we'll say game manager dot current, it's equal to this basically, and our current checkpoint is there. Okay, now also the game manager needs to know about the player controller, right? Player, because we want to have a function public void restart player. This is so we can basically restart the player whenever he falls. So what we are gonna do here is first, just an easy thing is we're just gonna assign like the position of our player. So player dot transform dot position is going to be equal to new vector 3, and we will say current checkpoint dot transform dot position dot x, and then we want to do basically for the y the same, y-axis this, but we want to add, just to be safe, like a little bit of height so it doesn't clip into the floor, and we don't need to do anything with this last axis. Okay, so now our player is restarting. So whenever we call this function, it's gonna be called into that place. So remember that in one of the first videos when we started this course, or like working on the game actually, we mentioned there's different ways where we can track if our player falls. One of them was like checking if the position of our player, like if we go to our player here, right now he is on 0 on the y-axis. If he drops below, let's say -20, it means our player actually just went below. So we could have just tracked our y-axis always, right? But then we have to make sure that our game doesn't go below that -20. So that's one way to do it. But another way that I also like to do, because it also gives us an advantage, and is sometimes we want to have maybe our player kind of like dying into a zone, but not just because it went through, like it fall too much. So I want to create something called dead zones. So I'm going to create a new script called dead zones. So what's a dead zone? Basically, a dead zone is whenever it's a space that if the user goes through it, then the player basically went through a dead zone and he dies. I'm gonna create here, and this is gonna be called dead zone falling, basically something like that we can call, right? Sorry, here. And these will have a nice box collider, and we want to make it basically just pretty large. We just need to make sure that our player, every time that he falls from our game, it doesn't matter where, it's always gonna like go through that collider. We need to make it trigger so the player can go through. If not, then the player will just collide and will be able to walk here, kind of. So we will make it trigger, and we will assign our dead zone. Okay. And what's our dead zone going to look like? So basically, we are gonna do essentially the same as we did in our checkpoint. It's pretty similar. So we can just copy and paste this here, right? And we need the game manager as well. We are gonna track this, and we are going to, instead of setting the checkpoint, we are going to restart our player. Okay. Let it compile. Perfect. And another thing that I want to do is, in our game manager, the current checkpoint, I'm just gonna assign it right away to this one. And we need to assign our player. Boom. And here we need to assign our game manager. There's different, so I'm gonna show you something. I didn't want to show it because there's better ways to do it, and is a terrible way to do it actually. But just for the sake of like these, that you can see now, I'm adding too much time, like the reference of game manager. What I want to do here is I'm gonna say remove that, and on the start method I'm gonna use a pretty non good for optimization function that Unity has. So try not to use this, please, as much as you can. Avoid using it, even though it's great. Don't use it too much because it's terrible for performance. So game manager is gonna be equal to find objects of type, and then I just have to say game manager, and Unity will go and do the trick for me. It's gonna go and look for a game manager type in the scene and assign it. And I'm gonna do that for that and for the checkpoint here too. There's another way. If we have more time at the end of the course, I will probably show you a better way to do this without using the find object and without assigning it to the edit, to the inspector. But for now, let's just keep it that way. It's gonna be easier. And the same for our player. We want it to be public because sometimes another script will access it, but we are gonna assign it here. Player is equal to player controller. All right, all right, all right. So our now our here we don't have that variable, we don't have that variable, and here we already assigned it, but we could have just leave it at none, and it's gonna auto assign it every time on start. Here is not that bad to have it on the start method, is because this will just maybe make our game slower on a start, because when the game starts it needs to go and do all these functions of starting and finding these. What is it bad is because basically what it's doing is going through all the game objects that exist here, even all of these ones, like every single object, and it's gonna go and find that type for us. So that will right now maybe it's not nothing, like we are not gonna even notice, but if we have a pretty extensive scene with a lot of objects and a lot of calls to that find object of type, then our game will be laggy at the beginning. So I'm just gonna leave it right now because it's just on the start, and we don't have too much objects to make a huge impact. Okay, so let's see if we assign everything correctly. We should have our checkpoint here, and I'm gonna walk here and I'm gonna fall. Oh, so I had a problem there, and it's that our player was a respawn but way down there. Okay, so let me show you again. So here's our dead zone. So whenever our player go, it's restarting but somewhere around here. So that's why this is having that little like bug there. Okay, so one way to fix it will be just to increase the position where we are falling, right? But that's actually not that good, right? Like there's a lot of instances where it could happen that like it's not gonna be great, right? It's not gonna be a good way to keep it in a or like in a pretty good manner. So we are gonna go in our player, we're gonna create a new variable. It's gonna be called bool dead, and it's equal to false. So our player is not dead at the beginning. And one pretty cool thing right now is with that dead variable, we can say if dead, pretty much we want to say rb dot velocity, it's equal to vector 2.0. So if it dies, our player will just stop moving basically. And also, if it dies, we wanna say return. So it won't go through all of this. It's not gonna even like check the update or the controllers. So it's not gonna go ever to the attack or to the jump basically. Right? It's gonna keep checking our ground, but that doesn't matter. So it's gonna do this. It's gonna basically stop our player from moving. And in our game manager, we are gonna say here, player dot dead. Sorry, so it has to be public. This one needs to be public. Player dot dead is equal to true. Okay, let's see if that fixes that little change. Okay, so let's hit play. Okay, so now we see what's going on. The problem is our like tombstone, the checkpoint is in this position, right? It's saying like, hey, I'm here, and we are trying to set our player controller, which is also in a different position here. So we are having this like kind of problem here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move. We can just copy this, copy component, paste component that's new. We can get rid of that. Here it is. And let's move our checkpoint up here. Boom. Probably our game manager just got lost. Yes. Checkpoint here. There you go. Or yes, and our position is gonna be oh, sorry, here it's this one was actually entire problem. Okay, so hit play. And let's fall. Boop. There is our player there. And now I cannot move, I cannot jump or anything because our player is dead. We don't want our player to be always dead. So we are just gonna go ahead here and say after the player was repositioned. So when we do this, it's basically doing automatically. We're gonna say dead is equal to false. Just so we are not able to like press any key while we were dead for that period of time. We're gonna do like we're gonna add something extra like that is nicer, which is basically I don't want our player to be able to kind of like do this. You see that my player is basically moving as soon as it respawns, which is not great. So I would like our player to just maybe wait some time. So we are gonna add here wait maybe a couple of frames before letting it revive. Something like that. Okay, so now we have our player and it's falling into our checkpoint. If we had another checkpoint in another place, so let's go ahead and create our checkpoint as a prefab. So checkpoint, and we put it here, boom. And then the dead zone, we also want to make it prefab. So we can create also here 000, and this is checkpoints. We put our checkpoint in there, and we create another one here, and we call it dead zones. This is just for organization, really. We have it like this. Okay, and we want to have another checkpoint, which will go somewhere around here, right? I believe we have one like that there. Oh, I didn't add it, but yeah, we can have one there, right? It's like a little bit pointless checkpoint because it's just a jump, but we're gonna have it here, and just to show you guys, we can change our object there to this one quick. Cool. We have our checkpoint there. Very cool. Let's put it here inside. Awesome. There it is. And let's hit play. Okay, so now I have this one. If I fall here, I respawn there. Now, boom, perfect. Let's jump here. Oh, we forgot a collider here, or something happened. Doo -doo -doo. Player, this platform. Oh, interesting. This platform has a box collider. Has the ground layer. Let me check if my player is falling because of a tiny displacement of that little thing. But that doesn't make much sense. Why will like that platform won't? Oh yeah, thank you for noticing that. That's the problem exactly. Yes, I have to change this because that's something that happens pretty often. The box collider and the box collider 2D. The box collider won't work in a 2D game. So we just had to change it to a box collider 2D, and that will just fix our problems. Thank you so much, little princess charming. I didn't notice that at that moment, but that's exactly the reason. Well, that's something good to have happen because now we know how to fix that. Thank you so much. And we go into our new checkpoint. And hopefully, if everything was correct, yep, there it is. Now our new checkpoint is with this place. If we go back to the other one, here, dude. Yeah, I know. Like that happens so much because Unity doesn't tell you like, hey, you are using a box collider, not a 2D one. And the interesting thing is that it doesn't uh, collide, like it doesn't really work a 2D with a 3D one. It's just a matter of you trying out and checking out, but sometimes it can give you a pretty big headache just to find how to fix it. But awesome, that's great that you were working on it and you found that bug. Perfect. Okay, so we have our checkpoints and we have our platforms. Let's go ahead and save that into our repo. And actually, before we do that, this one, remember the blue means that we had some changes. So we removed this one and we added the other one. Apply. I believe these ones we didn't do much. Yeah, no, that's fine. Mm, Oh, I added a bone on that one. No, I don't want to add that as a prefab. Our player was changed significantly, so we changed the transform, the sprite render, rigid body, player controller, and ground checker. Yes, all of that needs to be added there. On our checkpoint, no changes. On our dead zone, no changes. Awesome. So we have all of our changes. Save the scene, save the project. Let's go ahead and as well and change here and say this is our level 1. Reload the scene. Perfect. Let's go back here. So we did a change on our player controller. As you can see, that's why it's sometimes a little bit tricky. The animator and like the animations and all of those, they're not that straightforward to see what was changed. We know we did some changes on it. We added some variables and things, so we're just gonna head and update player animator controller. Oh, this one is the one that we were talking before. So we want to say materials. We change here the friction. Change player physics material friction to 0. Commit this, and we want to add here checkpoint. Oh, let's go first and add our game manager. Add game manager script. Here, add checkpoint script and prefab. So let's add the prefab as well right away. What we did add here, just sorting layers and the scene. Okay, checkpoint, then the dead zones. Add dead zones script and prefab. Here, fix floating platform box collider to add to the one. And here we added add dead variable to our player controller script. And then we lastly updated our player prefab. Player prefab updated with jump, ground check, attack, and attack. Here we have to say add back and front sorting layers. Cool. And we change level sim name to level 1. Perfect. So we have all of our changes. We can push that, and that's gonna be in the public repo. All right, so I guess that will be everything for today. I hope you guys enjoyed how we basically set up all of our players to have jumping, attacking, falling, respawning, the checkpoints, and basically the big dead zone. So now that you have all of those prefabs, you can go ahead and start creating like a way bigger environment, like a way bigger level. You can create different type of dead zones, because this one is just like the level, basically dead zone, but maybe we want to have some spikes down here or something, so then you can add just a little dead zone with the box collider way smaller. You can have more of these checkpoints around the game, and that will help, like it will make the game nicer. The platforms, we fixed it. That was a good one. And for the next episode, what we are gonna cover is the enemy setup. So we wanna start creating this little guy. We are going to make him have the idle animation, as well as the like idle attack when the player goes inside. Attack, we are gonna set health for the player and display it here in this ugly UI. And we are gonna be able to attack the player and kill it after 3 and he dies. That same way we are alive. We're gonna add this, like as you can see here, I'm using the back and the front sorting layer for this effect. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the next one. If we have extra time, I will be covering a better way to do what I just told you here, guys, which I consider is a really nice way to do it. We maybe are gonna be able to add more like UI elements so it looks nicer, our game, instead of just having that like health mechanism there. But pretty much is having our enemy ready for combat. So he is gonna attack, he's gonna do damage to us, and we're gonna be able to kill it with the attack. If we have also time, we will be able to fix that little like glitch where you, if you spam your click, you will be able to attack multiple times. But for now, guys, that's everything. I hope you enjoyed this session and you guys learn a lot on this one. Remember, I'm gonna start like uploading. I will create like the page that I told you, like just finish and publish for the previous and this session episode with the assets for this game that we are using, like the background, the tiles, the objects, and the player, and also the enemy. So if you want to download it and play around with it, it's gonna be there for you. Is all of those are free, so they are there for you, and I will be uploading the videos for you as well, guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and see you on the next session.